Good evening, everyone, and how's everybody doing today? I have it's not a very big build, it's mostly a wheel swap, and we're going to do just some buffing. But this is a special one for me because my very first car was a 72 Vega GT hatchback that I got when I was, I guess probably around 14 years old. It was my parents' car. They bought it brand new. It was the last new car that they had bought new. So, but it it was my first car, and it was rusted out when I got it in the mid 80s. And it was just a 4-cylinder, but it was a GT, and it had the little Opel 4-speed transmission, and for some reason they put a posi rear in the back. And it was originally a silver color with a green tint, with green interior, and I had spent a lot of time doing body work to it, and I had a good neighbor throw a really nice paint job of 1975 Chevrolet red, which almost had an orange tinge to it. And when I was picking a while back, I found this one that is flamed out. It looks pretty cool the way it is, but I think I can buff these flames off and do a wheel swap to make it look like my original one. The only thing that's different, it's got an L88 hood on it, but I'm not going to go ahead. Maybe later on we'll revisit it, but for right now it's just going to be a nice cleanup to redo or recreate my original first car, which everybody always falls in love with, at least usually if you're a car guy. I know I did, and to this day I would still love to have that Vega, but it's long gone. Somebody put a V8 in it, and the front suspension folded up on it, and he rolled it. And unfortunately, that was a long time ago. But I have this car here, and it had so we're going to go ahead and take this thing apart and buff these flames off of it. So stay tuned. Okay, here we are. Got my drill bit. It only has one rivet in it. So we'll carefully drill out this post since it is a plastic base. A little bit more. There we go. Alrighty. Get my tool, a pry bar here. Let's see what we got. We get this thing to pop. Yep. There we are. Front grill, little holds everything in. Just got some little wheels that pop out. They're not a bad looking wheel. I'll save them for something else. They can be used for something. So, and we just got a windshield that pops out, and everything looks to be in good shape. All I'll have to do is get the buffing, and then we'll do some detailing. Stay tuned. Okay, now we have her apart here. We are going to drill and tap the post out first, Polly, before you do anything else to it. Just kidding, buddy. What I usually do is so I don't drill too deep. Some people put tape on it, and I just take my fingernail, and that shows me right there how deep that post is. Yep. So, and then you can hold it up there, and that's just about right. So then I take my 256 tap and do it on the right end. Finally, after about 30 cars, 40 cars, I had to buy a new tap because the tap was actually wearing out. I've done so many of them, and I can only stress doing this as gently as you possibly can, because if you don't, you'll end up snapping that thing like a piece of glass. Okay, let's see how far we are. Nice little simple project. I got a lot of big projects in the makings that I'm not quite done with, and not going to rush them this weekend, just too much. And I ran out of a certain color of paint that usually, let's dig a little bit deeper, that usually you can find at your local Hobby Town USA. Well, the Hobby Town USA in my town is so frickin' pitiful that they don't carry half the stuff that they used to. It's really disappointing. So Amazon Prime it was. I figured I'd try to support my local hobby shop. And how can you support them if they don't have anything? So, alrighty. That is all done. I'm ready to go back in. Got a nice 256 screw in there. Let's go with some, I got this stuff called WAB. Gray Matter Metal Polish. It's the best metal polish that you'll ever use in your entire life. I can guarantee you that. It'll make aluminum shine like chrome. Just for a simple, I'll show you. I'm gonna take that like this on my good old buddy Johnny's stripped down opal that we're gonna do something with. And I'm gonna come over here to my buffing wheel. Mine's a spider! And watch. Look at that. I mean, of course, there is some pitting in there, but all I'll do is just take a little bit, put it on there, just ever so slightly. Brings it out like chrome. Look through the hood, just for fun. I gotta probably put this thing with some lacquer thinner anyways. So this is what I use on my bumpers and my grills. And like I say, even though there's some tarnish in there, you can see what kind of luster just that little bit does. WAB, gray matter polish. They use these on big rig rims like the big Alcoas and stuff. It's quick, it's easy, and there's living proof right there. This is actually going to get painted, but we'll do that later. I'm working on a plan for that there, Johnny. So, but this also works for cleaning scratches out of windows like this. Or see, if you look in here, let's see here. See, there's some scratches in there. All I do is just use what's in the lid, take my finger, put it on there, focus my camera, take my Tack Life. I love this thing. And just run it back and forth real without burning the plastic. Just keep going over it. And it takes the scratches right out. A little bit more. There's a slight abrasive in it. As you see, it's taking the scratches out. Now I'll have to go over it with polish. But for right now, let's go ahead and use this WAB to deflame the Vega. You have to be careful on the edges. And it's going to take a little bit of it all. Let me turn this thing down. That's a little easier. The old Hodgie got a little crazy with the tack life there. Yeah, it's taking the corners off a little bit, but you know what? I'm taking that L88 off when we strip this thing down. Okay. Work on this side for a little while. Takes those flames right off. Just got to be careful, especially on the corners, which I've already burned through the ones on the L88 hood, but such is life. My father gave me strict rules. Do not drag any more Vegas home. So, but I can always make them in diecast. Yep, no more Vegas. Of course, I really haven't seen a Vega worthwhile that hasn't been cut to pieces by making a drag car out of it. That would be good enough for what I wanted to do with it. I think in this day and age, I probably would just put a V6 in it and a stick, like a 4.3 and a S10 like they did with, what is it, the Rotson on Roadkill. Just a simple transmission and engine like that would probably work wonders in a Vega. So, but we're slowly getting these things off. But we're already up to 9 minutes on this, so let me finish this up and we'll see what we have. Stay tuned. Okay, and we're back with our little little Vega, which looks okay, but I'm not putting this out the way it is because it looks like shit up close. So from this little simple project that started out as buffing, I probably should have used some lacquer thinner or something and tried that, but I seen a couple guys on there buff it out. So what we're going to do is just go ahead and drop it in the stripper, get rid of that L88 hood, just put the regular little power bump they had in the hood on them, and just paint this thing red. So off to the stripper it goes. Stay tuned. Okay, we are back with a couple extra Johnny Lightning Vegas from the 71 through 73 to get the idea of the hood. This one has a little bit higher bump, and I don't remember mine looking that pronounced. This is more like it. Like they changed the hood on it here, and this one's just about what it was. So it gets gradual at the back and comes up almost right to the point. So I have to make this look like that. And I'm not cutting this baby up. That's a pretty little Vega wagon. And This is a pretty cool Vega GT, which mine was. So, cool thing about a Vega is the hood opened up backwards. You can't really see in there, but you can see that little aluminum engine that was a piece of shit. That it was 140 cubic inches, 2.3, 2300, whatever you want to call it. And it was aluminum block. We had ours re-sleeved. So, and it lasted for a lot longer, and I ragged the piss out of it, and it started smoking again by the time I got done with it. I had big plans to put a V8 in it, but it never happened. Oh, look at that one's painted red. Mine was never red. I don't know where they got that red from, but they got it. So that's what I got to do to the hood. So stay tuned. Okay, here we are with our little Vega GT. And I just threw some mud on here on this hood so I can do a little bit more basic just sanding to make it look more like the one I had. Now, I didn't get rid of the lower chin spooler because mine originally, I put one on. There was a company called Dobie, D-O-B-I, not to be confused like D-O-B-E-Y, like Captain Dobie on Starsky and Hutch. But they were based out of California back in the 70s and 80s. They would sell rear spoilers and lower front spoilers. So that's what I did. I bought a lower front chin spooler for mine and put a rear spooler on it. And it looked really, really cool. Now my lower chin spooler, unfortunately, met the maker of a rabbit, which cracked it down the middle. And being a teenager, I never put it back on. But I'm going to leave it on there just because I always loved the way it looked with the lower chin spooler on it. So I'm going to sand this out and get this thing ready for primer. So stay tuned. Okay, we are back with our little Vega. That's funny. And we got the hood bumple all right. There goes my furnace again. That's okay. And I got everything nice and primed. It's ready for paint. So I got to mix up some red with a touch of orange for this. Kind of like a 75, I can't remember, 75 or 78 Chevy red. You'll see the pictures in the back. It looks red. It looks red, but I remember in the rain it looked orange. So we'll kind of throw a little bit of a orange in with the red and do that. So, but as you can see, the hood bump came out pretty damn good, just like the stock one. So let's go ahead and get some paint mixed up and get this thing painted. Stay tuned. Okay, and we're back with our beautiful little Chevrolet Vega, which is going to represent my old one, or look almost like my old one. And we got the wheels, got the L88 hood scoop off of it, and I mixed up some Tamiya X7 with some Tamiya orange, which is X6. Kind of made a little bit of an orangish red, which was pretty darn close to what mine was, which was like a 1975 or 78 Chevrolet truck red. And certain lights it would look orange. So I'm going to go ahead and shoot this baby down and see what it looks like. Stay tuned. Okay, and here we are back with the parts to Hodgie's little first car build. And it turned out really nice. Body's nice and shiny and a red. Got the hood all looking correct with the stock, I guess you'd say, hood bump, which mine had. The only thing I did was I left the split bumpers on here and the spoiler, because I had both of those. Well, I had the spoiler and I had always planned on cutting my bumpers to make split bumpers, but it never happened. So I left that on there as kind of a homage to what I wanted to do to it. along with the V8 that was I wanted to put in it, but that never happened. But it did have the Krager SSTs, and these are these are not 13-inch, but they're a good rendition of the original Krager SSTs. As you can see, they have the blue in the center of the center caps, just like the original ones did. And mine was originally green, dark green interior, and I changed it to black interior. So this is absolutely perfect. So let's go ahead and put this thing together and get it on the rotisserie. Stay tuned. Okay, and we're back. This was a special build for me. Like I say, it was my first car, and as you know, everybody has a soft spot in their heart for their first car. And this is the best representation that I could do to that car. So here, without further ado, here it is. Hodgie's little 1972 Vega GT hatchback with the Opal 4-speed transmission, no power steering, no power brakes, and a 2300cc aluminum block 4-cylinder, which really wouldn't pull a wet string out of a cat's ass. But man, she sure did look cool. When you're in high school and you have a car like this, it's great fun. And like I say, everybody knew me by this car, because even back in the late 80s or mid to late 80s, there weren't many of these left at the time, and it was still hard to find parts for. But you always miss your first car, and I was strictly told by my father a couple years back, don't drag any more damn Vegas home. But even though it was his last brand new car that he had ever bought, I was brought home from the hospital in this car, and he drove it commuting back and forth for many years from Frederick to Georgetown, Montgomery County area. It was still a special car to me. First cars always are. Taught me how to do body work, and taught me how to work on cars, and taught me how to fix rust repair, which by the late 80s it was already rusted out, and I fixed it up just like it is. It had a lot of Bondo in it, but it sure did look nice. So there you have it, Hodgie's first car. I hope you enjoyed this simple little build. The Hot Wheels casting was perfect, just needed some minor modifications. We started out with something a little bit more simple, and it turned into something more complex, which I'm glad it did, because it looks 100% now. So thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon. I'm sitting home tonight. I'll be out until the morning light. Just hang around, never look for parking lots. Oh, checking out all the girls, see what they got. Wow, 'cause they love it when me and the boys wanna play some live with them yummy toys. Wow, we wind them up, let them go.